give the floor to use the lecturer that I don't have to present, especially in ICARUS activities. This is Alexander Schatek, administrator of Topotheque. So please, Alexander, floor is yours for new update on Topotheque issues.
Okay, so good morning to all. It's a short time, and I know that there are different different knowledge among you, some using topotheques and some not already knowing what it is. So let's have a quick jump into it. How is it presented on website and what is it basically? So if we have a look at our website, what will you see? It's just the basic information, but it's not the archive itself. You can navigate to our archives, and all dots you see here, these are local archives. And I think it's important to tell what we believe our borders are, because we are not a narrative. We are not something that tells stories. We just a basic archive with a function of finding up entries by details. So that's what people are looking for. And when we're navigating to one of our topotheques, for example, it's an important function to refine something. You once saw, for example, an image and you want to find it again. So you enter some keyword, for example, Erntedankfest in one of our archives. How they work, how they are set up, I will tell you afterwards. You get out from several thousand entries in that location. This is a municipality in Lower Austria. You get out of them just 18. You will find the image and you can look up all the people that in former days lived here. And if you want to find something about that guy, you can find him in the list. Maybe there are some more entries. Yes, there is, and somewhere here you will find this man again. So this is something you can search by details. And we have 4 ways of looking up our entries. For example, here, it's another archive. This is one we started with in Vienna. You can look up for addresses. You can look up for formal things like image. Let's take this in English too. You have images, you have videos, you can look after object, text, and so on. Even persons are possible to filter out, and you have unresolved things that people can answer to the questions, just looking up these ones. You have here the sign for the question and people can answer, but all this goes to the topothekers, the people who run the local archives. So if we look up all entry categories here, you see you can search by categories, you can search by topics. Everyone who runs one of these topotheques can define these, what's important for them to point out here on the surface. You can search by the search term, of course, an address, Böcklingstraße, let's say number 60. What's about that house? This house, okay, somewhere here. Where's that house? You can look it up. Number 60, it's this one. So you can look up all the other things. For example, are there horses with blankets? Yes, 38 horses with blankets. So you might go into even these details if you want, but it's not necessary. So you have the categories to search for, you have the keywords, you have the timeline. Of course, you can select only the entries around the war years, for example. And of course, and this is the fourth way of searching the entries, you can search on the map. If you entered the position of the entries with the right mouse button, you can define a circle and you will get all the entries just concerning these places here. This is something that we call a basic archive. This is kept easy to use even for the visitors and also for these who runs it, because who is it who runs these archives? This is, well, let's say layman, because we have a very vast amount of images, memories, videos, whatever, and the institutions cannot work in all these material. And so we went this way, that we tried to get the interested people not to post it only on Facebook groups, but also in the hands, to play this material into the hands of the public. And I think this is even a basic thought here, that all this documentation sometime should be not just only to the public, but also in public hands. Let's see the example. You have some wartime pictures with some swastika and stuff like this on it. Of course, this was history, and if we want to document this, maybe some American platform will tell, this is not our policy, and we kick this out. And so I think even the stories about people should be in our hands to be corrected by some public authority, not to get strange threats into it. And what we also suffer from is that many people do not know where to give all these heritage when they get a new home, they find the old stuff, where does it go to? And when people in a municipality know that there's somebody who takes it and he does something with it, they will go this way, and we can prohibit that that place for our heritage. And we often, or mostly, have this done by the citizen scientists, and they do it in the name of the municipalities. So it's not a personal group, but the mayor is in the background, and so all the people working there know that their work has to be well done. And Topotheque, of course, is twofold. You can say it's just an archive, but also you can say it's a citizen science platform, but it not necessarily has to be used like this. So even if you are large families use it, for example, to show the relatives overseas their history. They do not have to make it public. They get their password and they can use it for such family research. Also, it's used for small communities who want just to show their history, like football clubs or music associations that try to show the history in this way. In the last year, we also get a member of the European Citizen Science Association, because it's a sort of, well, public work for the history, but we must not mix up that our results are not scientific. We try to be the trap for the material, just to get it in public hands, and that's it. All what comes with the platforms we saw before is something that can build up with our material. Even time machines are connected in the future, because where should come the material from? And when you take some small municipality, all people living there are asked to bring their material, and they do it happily because they know that it will be used, it's accepted, and it will be shown, because they don't like it when there's some jubilee, for example, 800 years of this municipality, and the people bring their photographs and they are not used. They are annoyed afterwards. And with the digital archive, you can show this all the time. Well, at the moment, how far did we come? We started in Lower Austria. Of course, this is where we are living. And now we have about 300 archives, more than 300 archives in 7 countries. And here where we come from, it's about 185. And this means that this really is a network here, that one village goes to the next one and says, you're doing this, we also want to do this, we want to share this with the public, what we're doing here. Actively working, it's about 1,500 topothekers. These are registered people because we have not the possibility for people filling up entries without being looked up by the topothekers. At the moment, we are up to 875,000 records. This is, of course, for machine digitizing, not much, but we have to consider that most of these items are really something that was talked about, this was taken into hands, and was some reason for telling stories. So we also have a social process that's very important that takes place in the villages. Challenges for future, let's have a short look at it. Sustainability is always a question. What is it financed from? Because using Google Maps is quite expensive, for example. So we have the system that the municipalities or everybody associations who want to run such a topotheque pays a small fee. This is per year from 300 to 1,000 something euros. So if you take normal municipality with 40 millions per year budget, so that's not really much for them, but this is the money we can keep it up running. Some bottlenecks we also have to look at. Bottlenecks, that means a very great problem at the moment is how people do the scanning. We always have to look behind them. How are you doing it? What software do you use? Because they produce these artifacts, as you see on the collar, or most such bad software produces these double lines you can see highlighted with the arrows. This is something that really produces material that's not usable for archives. So quality control and tagging is something we have to resolve afterwards. We have to keep up the pleasure of doing this work. So if our wishes, what to do in the beginning would look too huge, people won't start work. So we have to keep it a very low threshold that people have their fun in doing it, and afterwards we have to try to combine practical keywords. And we have sometimes a very small number of keywords, and a very old problem we have from the beginning, people don't use hypernyms. So you have a special dog named, but you can't look after dog because they just write the special name for it. And what even in our eastern part of Austria we have is little knowledge of licensing, and this might cause a problem for later usage by maybe Europeana or other harvesters. Short glance on the future, what will it bring? We are working on meta search. That means At the moment, you can search as a visitor just in one archive, but should be finished this year. You can define in what archives you can search simultaneously. Text in video is something that's very near, that you can even mark peoples and objects in video frames and jump to them. Editable text as primary data, that means you don't have to load up PDF when you want to show text or Word documents as PDF, but you can write directly in an editor and use this text as a primer data. Mayer's Topotheque is going to be finished next week. That means you can search even for such entries that are not open to public in a Topotheque. So this sort of control function, even important for archives. And tagging in PDFs is something that's going to be. And one of the next steps will be a recto verso functionality we don't have at the moment, and it's not practical for all these old picture postcards, or you want to show the verso pages too. Well, this was in brief what's about Topotheque and what's going to be within the next months. So thank you very much for listening. And back to...
Thank you, Alexander. It was brief, I know, but Topotheque is always somewhere here and we share